took a picture of this number and it identified it as 35. But how would a computer do this?
Calculus, specifically multivariable calculus, is the bedrock of AI and neural networks, the core of our world today. Unlike the neurons in our brain that allow us to sense and perceive the world, neurons in this context are numbers from 0 to 1. Let's look at some handwritten digits.
Our input layer contains each pixel's values, whereas the output layer contains the neurons 0 to 9 corresponding to each option. Different inputs will give us different outputs. The hidden layers contain weights that multiply neurons from one layer to the next. But how do we know what these weights are? That's where calculus comes in. Let's start with the basics. Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope of the line. Let's take it up a notch. The derivative is the slope of the tangent line. Looking at the third dimension, the partial derivative is the change in the height of some function versus the change in the x or y. A gradient vector has each of the partial derivatives for the input variables. The gradient points in the direction of the greatest ascent, and the negative gradient points in the direction of the greatest descent. Thus, gradient descent. When a neural network first starts training, it doesn't know what to do. So like a student on a test they didn't study for, it'll just fill in random values. However, the cost function sums up the error and reports it to us. We want to minimize this error. We need to find how the cost responds to each weight. For each neuron, we can create a gradient vector that has the partial derivatives with respect to each weight. Imagine a 3D surface with the height being the error and the x and y being weights. We need to find the minimum value, which we can do with gradient descent. By following the path of greatest decrease with gradient descent, we'll eventually arrive at the model with the least error, which is the most accurate, and that's how you train a neural network.
If we can use calculus to give the computer a human ability to think, then imagine what else we can do with math.